So before we start this video, I want to talk about how machine learning works. Machine learning, it's very simple, but basically, grossly oversimplifying things, machine learning is the same premise of survival of the fittest, but applied to creating an AI, creating an artificial intelligence. So, hypothetically, for instance, if you want to create an AI, but you want it to do an incredibly complex thing that you maybe yourself don't even know how to explain, like driving a car or talking to another person or making someone fall in love with you. I know that sounds kind of ridiculous, but the point is there's a lot of things that we ourselves know how to do, but we don't really know how to explain it to something else, how to do those things. Sometimes the answer is not even remotely straightforward for a machine to understand. In those situations, a solution is using machine learning so that the machine itself can actually train itself to do those things without people having to communicate how to do those things to it themselves. So if you look at this little program, this is one of my favorite little machine learning programs because it is so good at just explaining exactly what machine learning is. And this is a program that's written by Samuel Artst, and you can go check out his GitHub repository in the comments below. And I'm also going to link this application so you can download it yourself and play around with it. It's very, very cool. But this is a program that uses machine learning in order to train a little virtual car how to drive through a maze. And if you look closely, you can see exactly what it is doing. In order to figure out how to drive through this maze, every single test that it gives itself, it generates 1,000 random little cars that all have 1,000 random different versions of the AI that it's building for itself, and then it just throws them into the maze. Now, naturally, every single time that it throws them into the maze, like 99% of them just immediately die. But every single test, every single generation of these AI that it generates, it takes the one that makes it the furthest, and then it uses that AI that made it the furthest as the new foundation for all of the AI that it generates for the next test. Now, this very simple concept is incredibly powerful, and I could do a completely different video talking about the implications of machine learning. That's incredibly tangential because what I want to talk about today is the use of machine learning to build AI whose objective is to imitate people. Because you can use this concept, this system, to develop a lot more than just self-driving cars. You could do this for all sorts of things. The applications for this are endless. But the further that we get using this system to develop AI that's training itself to do very specific things, like becoming more like us, the results are fascinating, but also sometimes a little bit creepy, if not outright terrifying. So let's start with this. Last year, Google started releasing large publications about a new technology, a new artificial intelligence project called Duplex AI. And the premise is actually pretty intriguing. The concept is that you would have an artificial intelligence somewhat like Siri, but instead of it just working with you, you could actually direct it to call other people and contact other people on your behalf in order to accomplish certain menial tasks. And this idea, this concept is very cool. The idea that you can have this automated artificial intelligence living in your phone that can autonomously contact people by calling their numbers and talking to them to accomplish tasks that you don't want to deal with, like booking restaurant reservations or finding hair salon appointments and beyond. But this is where it gets a little bit weirder, because one of the things that becomes immediately apparent about this AI when they actually showcased it for the first time to the public at one of their tech conferences is this AI isn't just built to contact people and get some of these tasks done. It is also built to do those things, but while completely convincing the person that it is calling that it is actually, in fact, a real person and not a robot. And of course, it can't just outright lie. It can't be like, I am a real person. It can't do that. But the lengths that it goes to subtly convince the person that it is not actually an automated service, it starts becoming a little bit terrifying. And so you can just judge for yourself and you can know exactly what I'm talking about. If you haven't seen it already, I want to show you the actual revealing of this system at a tech conference where it was put to the test and autonomously called random businesses without giving up that it was in fact an AI.
So what you're going to hear is the Google Assistant actually calling a real salon to schedule the appointment for you. Let's listen.
So how can I help you? Hi, I'm calling to book a woman's haircut for a client. I'm looking for something on May 3rd. Sure, give me 1 second. Sure, what time are you looking for around? At 12 p.m. We do not have a 12 p.m. available. The closest we have to that is a 1:15. Do you have anything between 10 a.m. and 12 p.m.? Depending on what service she would like. What service is she looking for? Just a woman's haircut for now. Okay, we have a 10 o'clock. 10 a.m. is fine. Okay, what's her first name? The first name is Lisa. Okay, perfect. So I will see Lisa at 10 o'clock on May 3rd. Okay, great. Thanks. Great. Have a great day. Bye.
So I want to tell you, we're not even at the terrifying parts of this video yet. So if you're already terrified, you picked a bad time, because it's only going to get even weirder. So Google Duplex is a system that is actually powered by WaveNet. And WaveNet is a product being developed by DeepMind, and DeepMind is owned by Alphabet, which owns everything. But Alphabet is the company behind Google. So this is essentially a Google product. And what WaveNet is it is an incredibly complex speech synthesis system driven by machine learning algorithms. And the WaveNet system is built to create as realistic sounding synthetic voices as physically possible. And what I mean by this is that if you were to give this complete gibberish to say, if you weren't trying to get it to speak English or do normal text-to-speech with some foreign language, if you were to give it completely random consonant and vowels, it will still make an incredibly convincing attempt to make it sound like real language and like a real person saying it. So let's listen to a couple of samples of that gibberish.
Sen hudwethatosichea still German, but in the in citality jailed at the threatening deck of the school. I'm quest.
And I want you to notice something in particular. I want you to notice that with that gibberish, it is actually not just creating vowel sounds and consonant sounds. It is actually synthesizing smacking of the lips and other things specific to an actual person saying something. Listen again.
Sen hudwethatosichea still German, but in the in citality jailed at the threatening deck of the school. I'm quest.
This is not a system being built just to say words. This is a system being built specifically to sound like a real human being. All right, now this is where we start getting into the real meat of this. Like I said before, machine learning driven AI. the applications for it is endless. And in this case, we're still just looking at AI specifically created to generally talk and sound like people. But you can take that even further, because if you create an AI that sounds like a real person, and you do all of the things required in order to actually fully synthesize that voice, then why couldn't you also make an AI that sounds like a specific person? And this is when things start getting really weird. Now, this is a company called Lyrebird, and Lyrebird is a small startup in a whole new emerging industry of AI voice cloning. Not just voice synthesis, but creating a voice that learns from other voices and then imitates that voice, hence the name Lyrebird. If anybody knows anything about lyrebirds, it's a bird that imitates the calls of other birds. So great company name, actually. Now, it's also completely public, so if you want, you can go to this site and you can fiddle around with this tech all you want, which is why I want to show this one first, because it's kind of fun to play around with. And they've already released a couple of voices that they have already cloned. For instance, here's one voice that they cloned from, Obama.
This night I am happy to share with you a small announcement about a cool startup called Lyrebird.
And then they did Donald Trump, because, why not?
They always finding, as I have told them, that their talk of appeasement with North Korea will not work.
And then, because for the hell of it, here is it learning and generating a phrase after listening to me talk and cloning my own voice.
What's up, everybody, is a Blue Drake.
And look, this is nothing. This is where some of my research on voice cloning, my introduction to the industry of voice cloning, began. And as I began to research deeper into this entire aspect of using AI to actually clone voices, I started finding some companies doing really incredible, terrifying things that I don't understand why not more people are freaking out about. After a bunch of just random digging, I found this company based in Hong Kong called Zeroth AI. And Zeroth is the owner, or at least a kind of incubator or an accelerator for a company called DeepSync. And DeepSync is run by this man right here called Ishan Sharma. Now, DeepSync is another voice cloning AI development startup, and there's nothing that I can find about them anywhere other than a handful of articles, and also their website, which shows just a single audio file sample that is allegedly generated by their voice synthesis and voice cloning software. So here is allegedly a sample of it speaking.
Stop me if you've heard this one before. Brilliant college kids sitting in a dorm are inventing the future. Heedless of boundaries, possessed of new technology and youthful enthusiasm, they build a new company from scratch.
Now, this sounds so obscenely real that my first reaction is that this is completely fake. This is just an actual person talking into a microphone, and they're just kind of like passing it off as an AI. I have no idea. It sounds too ridiculously real. The accent is spot on. It sounds like a real person. But the more I looked into the company, the more that I looked into their partners, their funding sources, the more I realized, like, there's something here. There is something here. This doesn't make any sense that this would be so legitimate and be something that isn't actually real. There has to be something. So I decided to do what I could to get in touch with Ishan myself directly. Now, this is a small Indian-based company, and I had to hunt for a way to get in touch with him. I contacted them through their website. I tried to find different email addresses that I could find. I was short of literally trying to figure out if I could call their offices or something like that. But I actually eventually got in touch directly with Ishan himself. And after just a short conversation about their company, he sent me a demo of the application. Now, the way this system works is you feed it audio to practice with. You feed it audio of the voice of the person that you want it to imitate. And the more that you feed it and the more time that it has to learn, the better. And after a while, it will be able to actually clone the voice almost perfectly. So, what I'm about to show you, this is a sample of someone actually speaking. So that this is a real person, this clip right here.
Many animals of even complex structure which live parasitically within others are wholly devoid of an alimentary cavity.
And you may not believe me, but after spending time and learning this person's voice and practicing with it, this is the cloned artificial voice of the AI.
Many animals of even complex structure, which live parasitically within others, are wholly devoid of an alimentary cavity.
And once it has had time to practice, once it actually is able to imitate the voice, it's not like it just can only say things that it's heard before. After that certain amount of time, it can say anything, even things that person has never said.
Hello, Blue Drake 42. You suck.
So now it will do its best to just say anything that I type in now. So let's give it some things to say.
Hello, I am a voice from Deep Sink, and I sound pretty goddamn real. I can say anything, even if Mr. Blue Drake here types in complete gibberish. I'll do my best to pronounce it properly. At fadfadaj negvtgerbertimdiv. Davejarg smudgebra.
And I want you to notice something. I want you to notice something about how this you know what? I'm literally actually just going to have her say it.
Notice how it hasn't just captured the tone of her voice, but also other more acoustic elements, like the sound of the room her sample audio was recorded in, the inflection of her words, the sound of lips smacking, or her breathing. Imagine having this voice calling people from your cell phone, calling your friends, perhaps even with your own voice.
And that is the thing about this. This is not just voice synthesis software. This is voice cloning software. A whole new, fascinating, exciting, and also rather terrifying industry that is emerging. And how effective and how accurate and how flexible some of these systems and some of this technology is starting to become. And also, there's the fact that nobody is paying attention to this. I have no idea why. Is mind-blowing. This is the deep fake of audio, of speech. And the amount that I've had to dig in order to find some of these companies that are doing these incredible things is it's strange. So, for instance, actually, I want to show you this. Here is a video of one of DeepSync's presentations. And again, like, I don't understand this, but nobody is paying attention to this. There is nothing about this company anywhere. It's ridiculous. But what they are showing is real. This is here. This is something that exists. And I'm going to let Ishan explain it to you himself.
This is how DeepSync works. Rather than you recording all the content yourself, DeepSync clones your voice. Yes, it simply learns the way you speak. It learns, for instance, your accent, the way you express yourself to the most granular level, and creates a replica of your voice on our platform. You give it a completely new script, and it would speak just like you would. And the best part, in any language you want. To show you that our technology works, We cloned the voice of Mark Zuckerberg.
You know, throughout history, there have always been inventions that have changed the world.
This is how it originally sounds.
All these inventions changed our lives, have changed society, because they help connect people. I believe DeepSync has some neat technology.
We do have some neat technology. This was his cloned voice from just few minutes of audio. You come to our booth number 8 and we'll show you more voices.
So that is where we are at from a technology standpoint now. It's here, it's been presented, I've gotten hands-on with it, I know that it's real, and the implications of this, especially combined with everything else that I've shown you in the past, all of these other things that all of these other companies are working on, both massive companies and incredibly tiny companies like this, is coming together to create something fascinating. It's absolutely fascinating. It's exciting, but it's also terrifying. There's a lot of talk about using it for podcasts and creating tutorials and stuff like that, and that's all well and good, but like I mentioned before, imagine having something like this in your phone, autonomously calling people, similar to the technology that Google is working on. Google has their own version of this software. What's going to happen when it's not just Siri, calling out to people? What if it's your voice? What if people set up systems to call people and then mine data from their voice? All of those robot calls that you get, where maybe some of the calls that you just troll and you're like, fuck you, robot, go away. You're interacting with it. You're giving it data that it can learn from you about. And I want to go all the way back to the beginning of this video. Do you remember the program that I showed you that Samuel wrote? That's how machine learning works. It's like sending all of those cars through a maze. And what is happening is we are reaching a point in time where we are the maze. So, for instance, I want to show you one of these articles that was done by Time Magazine a long time ago. And there's this reporter that was seeking out different AI that were being used as telemarketers. And this was back even when the AI weren't as capable, and they were only using pre-recorded phrases and everything. But even back then, their effectiveness was pretty good. But I want to explain something really specific, and I want you to listen to this first.
If you could say the words, "I'm not a robot," it would really mean a lot to me.
I am a real person. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you fine. I just want to hear you say, "I am not a robot."
Yes, I'm a real person.
Right, but will you say I'm not a robot?
Now, here's the thing. I know there's a lot of people out there that like to make videos and stuff like this trolling robots. Like, say you're a real person. But the thing is that's how this works. The more you interact with them, even if you're exposing them as robots, the more you interact with them, the better they're going to get. That is the history of how AI improves. That's how we've been getting to where we are now. And now, for instance, when I showed you that Google presentation, when they autonomously call people, that is their maze. Every single time that they fail and you make fun of them, that's a red car. Every single time they call you and they get through and you don't know, that's a green car. And the more that you engage with it, even if you're trying to troll it or be goofy, the more you engage with it, the more it will learn from you. Now, all of this leads us to the last topic in this video, which is not something that is very hotly debated right now for some reason, but as time goes on and as the implications of these things continue to become more prevalent, I think it will start becoming more of a hot topic. I've shown you Google. I've shown you how they test their voice system on anonymous people, anonymous businesses. And companies, especially AI development companies, have had a history of doing this, of testing their AI and improving their AI against masses of people without their knowledge. Now, when it comes to companies like Lyrebird and DeepSync, fortunately, they're very self-aware of the implications of their technology and the possible malicious uses. There's sections on every single one of their web pages that goes into detail about this and the lengths that they're going to prevent malicious use, which I think is really admirable. But DeepSync and Lyrebird is not the entire AI research and development industry. And this is where I really want to talk about the main concern that anyone, I guess, could have about how fast AI is being developed, and also how we are, at many times, unknowingly, possibly even unwillingly, participating in the development of this artificial intelligence. I'm not sure if you're aware of this, but Google actually owns the company reCAPTCHA, the thing that you click on in order to get access to a site, and it makes sure that you're not actually a robot. Now, the irony of reCAPTCHA is one of the reasons that it is a profitable company is because it is used to mine data which develops AI. And by testing against people and having them do certain things, it can help use that data in order to allow the AI to learn from it. So, for instance, I'm not sure if you've noticed, but have you ever realized that when you're doing these Pictionary style CAPTCHA quizzes, you're identifying a lot of street signs and you're identifying a lot of things that a car would come across? The reason for that is because Google owns this company, and Google also owns other companies that are developing self-driving cars. So every time you solve one of those puzzles, you are actually unwittingly helping Google to train its self-driving car initiative, which is also kind of weird since you have to solve them in order to get access to the sites that you want to access. So in a lot of cases, you don't really have much of a choice other than to do them. But now that we are where we are, and the kinds of products and technologies that we've kind of shown throughout this video are now starting to be developed and released to the public, we're entering a whole new era of this, and this is where things start getting really weird. What is going to happen when you have AI like this on the cell phones in the pockets of hundreds of thousands, if not millions and millions of people, all automatically calling each other, calling other real people, maybe even calling other robots? I have no idea. But what are you going to do when you have that many AI all calling real people, imitating real people, gathering all of this data in the same way that CAPTCHA gathers data from all of these users that it's going to be interacting with on a massive scale, learning at this exponential rate, and whose sole objective isn't just to like drive a car or suggest you videos on YouTube or transcribe books or anything like that. That's not the objective of the AI now, but using all of this information to impersonate us. Are we really prepared for what might happen when we start doing that? It will not be a significant amount of time until there is a company, possibly a completely different company from all of ones that I've shown you so far, that will figure out how to develop this AI for themselves. And there will be a time in the near future, the very near future, where you will have an AI that could call you, get you into a conversation for 2, 3, 5 minutes, and then disconnect and call you back or call somebody you know immediately after and replicate your voice perfectly. And it's funny because it makes me think back to this Time magazine article that they wrote many years ago where he was getting the robot to expose itself by telling it to do certain things that it then wasn't capable of doing. But I've just shown you an AI now that has the ability to say anything and sound convincing, and it's only going to get better. What's going to happen when you have an AI that calls you and you say you're not a real robot, and it says, I am not a real robot. And there's going to be no way, there will be no way to figure it out. And the more that we test it, the more that we even, actually, it's funny because the CAPTCHA tests, there are robots that are also breaking the CAPTCHA tests, and the CAPTCHA tests are having to get more and more and more complex. That's because, in a very real way, those CAPTCHA tests are actually helping that AI to improve. Our interactions with these AI, trying to expose the AI as AI, is only helping them to improve. Why? It's the red car, green car machine learning premise. This is evolution. This is survival of the fittest applied to a computer program. It's like bacteria and how antibacterials strengthen bacteria. It's the same thing. And I don't think anybody realizes that we are plunging headfirst into the thick of it and creating exponentially more intelligent AI year by year. I could make a whole nother video talking about so many aspects of these things, but I think I'm going to wrap it up here. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. I worked a couple of months on this video, and there's still some things that I would love to cover. Some of the things that I'm working on is currently cloning my own voice with some of the DeepMind and DeepSync software that is available. But unfortunately, I think I'm going to have to leave that for another video. Alright, well, if you enjoyed this, feel free to comment down below and subscribe or don't, whatever. I will leave links to everything that there are links to have down in the comments below. And of course, I always love to hear your all's thoughts on these matters as well, so make sure you let me know in the comments. But I will see you guys in the next one. Oh, right, and I apologize for all of my laundry that I have to do that's on my couch. Don't get assassinated by any robots while I'm gone, and I'll see you in the next video. Cheers, ladies and gentlemen.